It's the bye week, meaning Baylor doesn't have a game tomorrow, but it doesn't mean that we take the day off. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, all you Baylor fans out there. Welcome to Locked On Baylor. I'm Drake Toll from Inside the Bears alongside Scotty Swingler, the Pigskin Preacher. Thank you for making Locked On Baylor your first listen every single day. Thank you to Cam and Klein yesterday for taking the show. There was I'll come out and be not transparent, but like vaguely so. There's a conflict of interest in the Grimes conversation that I am recusing myself from. So I am trying to limit my opinions. That is as detailed as I will go, and it's not detailed whatsoever. But today, so thank you to those guys. Good stuff. It was funny. I laughed a couple times, which I kind of like felt bad laughing. It was like, gosh, dang it. That should make me laugh, but it did. Scotty, there's a bye week this week. But you've been there, man. You ever been to like a small, like Southern Baptist church? You ever been to one of those?
I've been to multiple of those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it feels like sermons, and this is completely, I'm generalizing here, but it feels like after football season ends, sermon analogies just take a big hit. There's like a huge dip. So we're meeting that with the bye week this week. We're like, man, what's your segue into a Sunday morning? The preacher can't get up and talk about the Baylor Bears. So I am prepared to be wholly impressed with how you can give me hopefully some semblance of like energy or hope or something going down the stretch for a Baylor team. It's 3-2 right now.
It's funny that you mention hope, Drake, because that's exactly where we're going this morning. Because here's the deal. On one hand, hope is what kills you as a sports fan. I believe it was Bane in The Dark Knight Rises who said, "There could not be true despair without hope." The hope that kills you. So on one hand, I know hope can be difficult. On the other hand, keep in mind, Baylor went into last year's Big 12 championship game with 2 losses. So it's easy as a fan right now to despair, but we also have a choice. And I believe as a Christian, it's a choice to hope. Romans 5 says this, and this is one of those concepts as a Christian that's hard. It says, we glory in our suffering. That's a weird statement. Yeah, get your notebook out, Drake. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who's been given to us. Okay, so hope does not put us to shame. You should never be shamed as a fan when you hope for the best. I think it's an interesting balance we hold to be both critic and hopeful. But I want to tell you a story, Drake. So in a bye week, I want to tell you a good Bible story, right? A good narrative out of.
We can't really beat Gideon. That was insane.
I know that's your favorite, and I just landed on your favorite story that week. But this one might be my favorite. Drake, have you ever heard of the disciple who walked out of prison?
Sure.
No.
I'm excited to hear about this.
Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to read from Acts 12, and I'm going to just warn our viewers, this is a longer scripture than I usually pick for my Pigskin Preacher segment. But as we read, I hope you'll see some parallels, not only to Baylor football, but us as a fan base and how we respond in hope. So here's what happens in Acts chapter 12. It says, it was about this time that King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with a sword. Thus goes one of the 12. James, the brother of John, you may remember he was referred to as a son of thunder, executed just like that, gone, wiped off the pages of history, Acts chapter 12. And then when Herod saw this was met with approval, he proceeded to seize Peter also. Now, Peter probably being Jesus' most famous disciple, Peter pastoring the first congregation in Jerusalem. It says, after arresting Peter, he put him in prison, handed him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. He's got 16 men on Peter. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. Now, if you read any scholars, they'll tell you this trial was a kangaroo court. There was no true trial coming. This was, hey, you liked it when we killed James. Let's kill Peter also. That's how this trial was going to go. So Peter was kept in prison. But the church, and I want you to note the church's role in this story, the church earnestly praying to God for him. I might say they had hope. The night before Herod was going to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. Quick, get up, he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said, put on your cloak and your sandals, and Peter did so. Wrap your cloak around you and follow me, the angel told him. Peter followed him out of prison. But he had no idea what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision, or as some people have interpreted that, he was still asleep and he thought he was only dreaming. They passed the first and second guard and they came to the gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself and they went through it. When they walked the length of another street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself, or a more accurate translation, woke up. Peter woke up and said, now I know without a doubt the Lord sent an angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were hoping would happen. And here's the part that's exciting to me. When this dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, mother of John, also called Mark, where many other people had gathered and were praying for him. Peter knocked at the entrance, and a servant named Rhoda answered the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so joyful, she ran back without opening it and exclaimed to the others, Peter is at the door. You're out of your mind, they told her. When she kept insisting it was him, they said, it must be an angel. Or, Drake, maybe in today's terms and maybe in this month especially, we would say, is it the ghost of Peter? But Peter kept on knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet. He told them how the Lord brought him out of prison. Tell James and the other brothers and sisters about this, he said. And then he left for another place. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. And Herod had a thorough search for him and did not find him. So he cross-examined the guards and executed them. Aha, he got his blood. Okay, listen, here's the point. Here's the point of all of this. There is always hope in any circumstance. Peter is in a situation that I would describe as quite hopeless. One of his bros, one of the disciples of Jesus, has already been executed at the hand of this leader. He's in prison, guarded by 16 men, chained to a wall. There's no way out. He's going to die the next day. And there was a way. There was still a way. And he walked out of a prison. I find that so fascinating. But here's the second point. When he walked out of the prison, it was the church that was waiting for him and then that smuggled him out of the city and protected him. The church that had prayed and hoped and dreamed, when they finally realized it wasn't a ghost, they took Peter in, they smuggled him out of the city, and they helped him make his escape. So, may we be faithful to not lose our hope. Because, Drake, we've said it since preseason. It is very likely both teams in the Big 12 championship will have 2 losses.
Yeah.
If not more. This season ain't over. So would we maintain our hope? I don't know if God answers prayer for football teams. I haven't quite worked that one out with him just yet. But may we keep our hope, and may we be there, continuing to cheer on our Baylor Bears. I haven't lost my hope, Drake. I haven't lost my hope. We can still sleepwalk right out of this prison cell. We can still see an escape. I'm ready, man.
Scotty, this is good. That you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to come clean here. all the things that you've said, what really made the light bulb flicker is when you mentioned that we have been talking since the dawn of time about how in the year of our Lord 2022, the Big 12 title will likely feature two teams with 2 losses. Were we not considering that one of those teams would be Baylor with 2 losses? Like that.
Well, and were we not considering this is what's so hard about being a fan, right? If you tell me before the season you're going to lose 2 games to BYU and Oklahoma State, I'm going, okay, like, cool. Those are good. Those are good football. That would not have upset me, 2 months ago. So we like you said, we are still within. I mean, much closer than sleepwalking out of a prison cell with 16 guards. We are within reach of the goal, man. It's right there.
Well, first want to say Baylor will likely not win out. There's not like a clear path to win out. There really is not. But again, this 2-loss Big 12 championship team conversation, Baylor could easily be 7-2 in Big 12 play, 9-3 overall. And Scotty, I'll be honest with you, had you told me 9-3 a couple weeks before the year, I would have said, yeah, no, that's fine. I think that makes a good portion of sense. You know what else makes sense, Scotty? One of our newest sponsors at Locked On, and that is SimpliSafe. So SimpliSafe, the numbers don't lie. In the last decade, 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe home security to protect their home. You don't need the trust of that many people, though, without doing something. You like SimpliSafe is the only thing that matters. Keeping your home safe and safety is the only thing that matters. So SimpliSafe is where that comes in clutch. I know because SimpliSafe is something that we've had to use in my own home because my car recently got broken into. My wallet was stolen. They protect you, cutting-edge technology, 24/7 monitoring as well. With the 24/7 professional monitoring, agents will call you the moment a threat is imminent. If they detect anything, they'll let you know. They blanket your home with protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. With HD security cameras, they monitor and have monitoring experts with advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is happening. So, right now, customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedoncollege. Save 20% on your security system, 20% when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. simplisafe.com/lockedoncollege. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Scotty?
Can you imagine how much of a headache Herod could have saved if he'd had SimpliSafe in that cell?
Nobody's sleepwalking out of this jail cell. Not happening today. That's a great segue. Thanks, good.
Thanks, man.
Scotty, had I told you preseason, said Baylor's going to lose on the road to BYU, to a good BYU team. Baylor's going to lose to Oklahoma State, a top 10 Oklahoma State team. And Baylor's going to lose to Kansas State. And still go to the Big 12 championship. I wouldn't be shocked. Would you have been shocked?
No, in fact, on Please Bear With Me, I picked almost that exact scenario. I picked 2 losses to BYU and Kansas State. And Drake, we've been talking about this all week, so I hate to rehash something you've already covered well. I think what was so frustrating about that game this past Saturday is you had about 15 chances to just go win it. And it's not like Baylor lost because Baylor was just completely blown out of that game.
Yes. 2 fumbles from Oklahoma State. Baylor recovers neither of those. Spencer Sanders only throws 1 pick. You probably should have gotten some more pressure on him. He ran the ball really well. But there were mistakes. Pitching the ball at the 1-yard line. But I'll talk about it till I'm dead. Bad. Just bad.
There was a lot, right? It was like the amalgamation of all the things. It was like there's a couple of Gavin Holmes drops where who knows what happens if he catches the ball. Certainly one less interception for Blake Shapen. Yeah. It was the decision to run the toss twice in situations where, I don't know. Yeah. It was 2 fumbles that you didn't quite grab. It was all sorts of stuff, man, just over and over.
So now you go into this week and going into a bye week after a loss, that's a positive to me. That's a positive. Here's another weird fact. And this is by virtue of the playoff being 4 teams right now. It's kind of what's created this you lose and your season's over mentality for a lot of teams. So Baylor played Louisiana Tech instead of BYU and won by 31 points and lost this week in a top 10 matchup to Oklahoma State, Baylor would still be the number 13 team in the country. That's why a lot of these rankings and things are just stupid, like completely stupid. I still buy into them. I still talk about them. But Baylor, why would you even schedule BYU? I get why you would. I do. But in the age of the 4-team college football playoff, it doesn't really matter. Just go beat the crap out of some sucky team and still be top 15.
Well, so I'd be interested, and this wouldn't take much research to find out if you really wanted to know when we actually put BYU on the schedule. Because you know how college football works, dude. They're scheduling games 7, 8, 9 years out. And if you'll recall, and it was my senior year at Baylor, so it's a nightmare every evening. That 5th place finish in 2014, that one-loss Baylor team that lost to who did we lose to that year? Was it West Virginia on the road? Oh man, we got something to talk about next week. But if you go to that one-loss team that finished 5th, the constant excuse that committee came up with for Baylor's lack of inclusion in the Final Four was strength of schedule, no good non-conference teams specifically. And so I'd be curious if we didn't book BYU that following summer. I'm sure we can look it up and find out when that game was actually put on the schedule, but it would not surprise me if it was literally the next offseason we went, who's some big-time opponents that we can probably compete with, probably beat, but look better on a schedule than, Wofford, who I think we might have played that year or the year before. So,
no, that's also a great point. Strength of schedule does matter for the playoff system. Baylor, had they played La Tech, would still be in the top 15, which kind of makes me upset. But you're right. In the end, that's probably the right way to do it. 12-team playoff. We're still talking about Baylor's odds to make the playoffs. We're still having a conversation about how, I don't know, Baylor can backdoor their way in or, win X amount of games the rest of the year, finish 9-3, win the Big 12, be 10-3, have the 11 seed. So that's going to change the game entirely, which I think is going to be positive for college football. But you're in a spot now with a bye week after a loss where, West Virginia on the road on Thursday. It literally will not get easier. This is your easiest game left on the schedule is West Virginia. If you lose this game, that is not good.
So I understand why you would say that. And TCU, I would have thought before the season would be the easiest game left, but they're playing very, very good football.
Hosting game day.
But I'll just tell you, Drake, and we'll talk more next week, Morgantown is one of 3 places in the Big 12 I never want to play. Ever, ever, ever. We were already successful at Ames this year, which is another one of them. But freaky things happen in Morgantown, particularly to the Baylor Bears, and on a Thursday night. All of those things. I'm just going to tell you, I agree with you as far as strength of opponent. This is probably the easiest one you have left. As far as the game itself, being in Morgantown, I don't think we're going to lose, but I think it's going to be close. I really think it's going to be scary.
If Baylor loses to West Virginia this week and we're staring at a team that's 3-3, you've got to sell at that point. That's just not good at all because you still have some major road games like Texas and Oklahoma coming up. Granted, you could lose to West Virginia and still win both of those games, Texas and OU, because neither of them are premier competition, but this feels like a really pivotal game to hang your hat on.
Well, and Drake, maybe this is a scary question we should save for another time, but what's the floor? Because you just named all those games, and I'm going to tell you the game that scares me worse than any of them left on the schedule is probably Texas Tech in Lubbock.
In Lubbock, yeah.
I mean, there is not an easy win left.
No,
it's not there.
Yeah, the floor is 3-9 because Baylor has 3 wins right now, and every game on the schedule, Baylor will be favored by less than 10 points or an underdog the rest of the way because the Big 12 is that good. They're not going to lose all of those games, but even if they are able to pick up 6-6 would be beating some good teams, losing to some good teams. That's the nature of this conference this year. 6-6 could still get you a 5th, 6th place finish in the Big 12. That's not good. Not exactly what Baylor fans wanted, but that's the nature of this year's Big 12. The floor is low. That's not a good thing.
Yeah,
the floor is not lava, but low.
I agree with you. I just, and I think this is fun. I mean, this is what you get into the sport for, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Like knowing that you're going to steamroll Kansas to me every year is not fun. Like it is way more stress inducing where we are this year. But the fact that we're going to talk Kansas TCU in a little bit, and that is a primetime college game day matchup, is awesome for the sport. It's a great thing for the conference.
Here's what I love, Scotty. I'm going to put everybody in a cliffhanger because what I love is insane. But first, I got to tell folks at home about Old Faithful, my trusty, maybe favorite sponsor that exists at Locked On, Built Bar. Built Bar they've done it again. They have the Built Bar Puffs. If you haven't had the puffs, you're depriving yourself of like one of life's greatest joys. Delicious, indulgent cookie dough puffs. I love them. Thank you, Locked On, for all of these really awesome products. Since I took this job, I've gotten to try out and love. 100% real chocolate on these puppies, and they're healthy for you. 160 calories in one cookie dough chunk puff. They have a whopping 15 grams of protein as well. Go right now to Built.com to snag a box for you and your family. It's the perfect treat. Real chocolate, healthy, tasty. Somehow all that goes together with Built Bar. And what's great about it is their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently, provides a ton of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. You are going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. It is the perfect protein bar. Grab yourself a Built Bar at Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Built.com, promo code LOCKEDON15. They changed that, LOCKEDON15. Scotty, hilarious to me that Kansas and TCU was not supposed to be a big game at all like 2 weeks ago. Everybody's like, who cares? So the game is on FS1. It is on FS1 and College Game Day at 11 a.m. too, by the way. And College Game Day is going to be there.
Justice for Lawrence, Kansas, man. Because they should have been there last week. And so this is a good feeling. Man, I picked TCU to finish last in the conference.
Yeah.
And I picked Kansas to finish 9th. And here they are at the top of the heap. And seeing TCU up there makes my blood boil as a Baylor guy. But seeing Kansas up there, I'm not going to lie to you, Drake, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. I still have some bitterness because, like, when basketball season starts, it's freaking on, right? But it's kind of fun to see them up there. And China Spring Cougar, why am I forgetting his name, Drake? The defensive end.
Alexander.
Thank you, Demarion Alexander. Yeah. Kansas Jayhawk. So there you go.
Boom. Other games in the docket this week, there are some fun ones. Tennessee, number 8 in the country, against number 25 LSU. LSU's on a bit of a heater. They have won now 4 straight against the 4-0 Volunteers, but it's an 11 a.m. game. If it's a night game, I'm riding the Tigers. But Tennessee favored by 3 in Baton Rouge at 11.
I'm taking Tennessee in that one. LSU's played too close with some inferior opponents. I have not bought into the Tigers this year. I think Tennessee's real.
Scotty, Arkansas, 10-point dogs at Mississippi State. 10-point dogs in an SEC West game. Make it make sense to me.
Make Arkansas make sense to me, man. Talk back to me on that team, because I do not know what to make of that team. It would not surprise me if they beat State by 17 or if they lose to State by 17. I mean, at this point, I don't even know what they are.
Just okay. Mediocre. Like, they are having the same conversations that we are about Baylor. Like, the ceiling's there.
That's
but the floor,
so true. That's
really low. So not that they are Baylor, but they're having a lot of the same conversations. I feel like another game in here though that I will have my eyes glued to. Oklahoma State 9.5-point favorites at home against Texas Tech, number 7 team in the country against unranked Texas Tech. But that's a scary Joey McGuire led team.
It's scary, but Drake, we've already talked about Morgantown and Ames. The number 1 place in the Big 12 that is hard to play in is Stillwater, Oklahoma. If you've ever been in that stadium, there's nothing in college football like it. I I agree with you. That line's a little big. That's a wide margin, but I think Oklahoma State covers. What say you?
I like, oh man, I like this Texas Tech team to be sneaky, and I think they keep it close the whole way, but then probably end up losing by somewhere around 10. So I'll lay on Oklahoma State to win the game at home, although it is not a night game. One game that is a night game, Iowa State in Ames, 2-point dogs against Kansas State at home under the lights. One of the most intriguing matchups, in my opinion, in the country this week.
This game will be what tells us if Kansas State is really the top dog contender right now or not.
We're rooting hard for Iowa State, by the way.
We are. But if Kansas State goes in there and even wins by 7, 10, watch out. That's scary for everybody else.
Oh, yeah. It says a lot for sure. Last one that I have circled on my docket for college football this week that I'll have my eyes glued to is my fighting BYU Cougars. 3.5-point dogs at Notre Dame, 6:30 p.m. And South Bend, Indiana. Scotty, do those Cougars have what it takes to go on the road and knock off the Fighting Irish?
These are two teams that desperately need this win. I think that's what's so interesting about this game. Both of these teams, I think, are in need of this. Like this would do so much for the current season and the culture if you can win this game.
And for your respective religions.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not so sure.
But a big win for the LDS. Big win for the Catholics.
I think LDS might care about it a little more than the Catholics do. But sure. I'll a little more of a global religion if you know anything about history. But I'll go with the Cougars, Drake. Who are you picking in that one?
I'm gonna go with BYU because I have to.
Did you bet hoodie today?
I did not buy the hoodie. I did not, but I thought long and hard about buying that BYU hoodie. I've been buying a lot of different hoodies. I've got a Purdue one now. I've got a UNC one now. I've got a couple. I have a Wisconsin, a Penn State one. I've started buying them from different schools just to like randomly rep them on shows and whatnot. It helps when you're applying for jobs to be like, look at me in my interview in my UNC hoodie, Mr. Person that's based out of North Carolina. So that's a little insider baseball there on how to get a job around the world.
Little pro tip from the pro.
Yeah.
Hey Drake, I've got one last comment for you. Do you know why I decided to do this sermon this morning on hope?
Because you hope that Baylor doesn't
because I saw a what I'm assuming was a bot tweet hope off, and you gave it a little retweet in all caps. And I said, "Ho-off, huh? Let's go." So here we are, man. I've got a lot of hope, Drake. I'm optimistic.
That's good. For those that don't know, it was I tweeted a picture of a BYU hoodie and was like, "Should I buy this, BYU fans?" Which, by the way, if I just tweet the words BYNU or the letters BYNU, I get like 100 likes. So yes, I am feeding into the cloud. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. But the person commented, they were trying to get hop off. They were trying to say hop off, but they said hope off. To which, my mind immediately was like, yeah, who's got more hope? Come on. Your hope against my hope. Hope off. Where? When and where? I'm Drake Toll from Inside the Bears. That's Scotty Swingler. Scotty, where do the folks follow you? Where do they find you? Where do they find you?
Man, there's the Twitter handle right there, at Preacher Pigskin, and that's only because Pigskin Preacher was already taken. But follow me at Preacher Pigskin for all the Baylor football takes. And go ahead and go follow my friend Travis Corley at Please Bear With Me. That's a good show.
There you go, folks. Come back on Monday. John Garcia Jr. from Sports Illustrated joins the show to talk about how Baylor can win recruiting in the bye week. This has been, always will be, Drake Toll, Scotty Swinger, locked on Baylor.